Hello and welcome to Talkback Legal TV's new debate show. We're going to be getting hot and heavy with the most controversial topics of the day. Today's show is on racism. Now, we all think we know what racism is, but let us begin our debate with a clear definition from the New Oxford Dictionary of English. Racism is the belief that all members of each race possess characteristics, abilities, or qualities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races. Now, we have two guests today who have very strong opinions on this subject. First, I'll welcome Bushra Anwar. Hello.
Hello.
She is a lawyer and chairperson of the White Castle Trust. The White Castle Trust is a registered charity which, amongst other things, gives out free immigration advice on disability appeals. And Bushra also does a lot of community work, and she's an active campaigner for women's rights. Also joining us today, we have Dr. Phil Edwards. He is a scientist. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you have a degree in mathematics and physics. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, I would like to open up this discussion by asking you a question, Mr. Edwards.
Dr. Edwards.
Dr. Edwards.
Thank you.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not.
Are you not? Because you have been quoted in the press as saying things regarding to eugenics, etc. Also quoting information about a quote regarding, for instance, the Black Dickens, the fact that our population in Western Europe has been under more genetic pressure.
Yes.
And therefore, we have somehow evolved a strain of more intelligent individuals,
Yes,
or more superior individuals. Could you restate this for me?
Well, now I see where you're coming from. The fact that I even mentioned race would therefore cast me as a racist. Now, of course, that word has been imbued with all sorts of malevolence and evil by the media. And the idea of doing that is precisely to stop any form of debate. This is quite unusual to have a debate on this free and open, and let's hope there's lots of people watching it. So the idea of being a racist as someone evil and wicked who doesn't like people of other races, no, I don't fit that at all. I don't even accept there is such a word as racist. It can mean anything. It's a bit like the Mad Hatter, isn't it? Words can mean anything I want them to mean. And it's a word that the race relations industry has invented, as I say, to stop any debate about people of different racial groups.
I think I found the actual quote, which we were just discussing, and it's from an article which I believe that you have published yourself on your own columns, but it's quoting you as saying, people in Black or Sub-Saharan Africa have not been under the same pressures of selection that we have in this part of the world, and that has made on average, our people slightly more intelligent. That can be seen quite clearly if you look at, say, the history of Black Africa. There have been no great civilizations that have formed in Sub-Saharan Africa, and no great science. To put it crudely, there's no Black Mozart and there's no Black Dickens.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's true, isn't it?
Bushra, would you like to rebut?
Well, I would like to rebut, because first of all, I'd like to say that racism, yes, he's quite right, it's a word that's given to explains phenomena. And racism itself is a belief, it's a perception of society. It's a word that is used to describe when you stereotype other races and try to demean them in some manner. And I believe that is the reason why that word has been given. Merely mentioning the word race does not make you a racist by any means. It certainly doesn't make you racist unless you demean or demoralize or say something or try to put another race in an inferior qualification. Now, can I say something? You've just mentioned about the what he's just said about the Black people. Now, can I say there's a lot of very able Black people, and in this country you will see that the lawyers, even commissioners, if there is any reason why they cannot reach the height of the hierarchy, it might be because when people came into this country, they could not speak the language, so they started from social class right at the bottom, from 5 and 6, and within a generation or two, they have gone on to social classes 1, 1, and 1. And if you look at that, then I would like to say that how on earth can you say it has anything to do with their ability?
When you mention Black people, what exactly, who are you describing?
Well, who are you describing?
Well, Black, to me, means people of Black African ancestry, Sub-Saharan ancestry.
Right.
Well,
And I'm
That's what we're
talking about them as well. There's a
You're
lot of
not
lawyers
talking
around.
about that.
There's
You're
a lot of
talking about
lawyers around that
people-
are black African.
You're talking about, I
Oh, yes.
suspect that you're talking about people who emanate from the Indian subcontinent.
Not necessarily. Just because I'm from the Indian subcontinent, you
Well,
must not believe that I am only talking
The
on their
fact of the
behalf.
matter is, these views that I put forward in that article are not of my own original research. They are the research work of over 100 years of people, starting right back with Galton in the 19th century, who tested people with psychometric tests, culturally unbiased, standardised IQ tests. The work's gone on all through the 20th century. It's been done in America by people like Arthur Jensen, who's still working, Chris Brand in Edinburgh, and many other academic experts, and they've shown that different racial groups do have different abilities. Now, that puts it in perspective. But the fact is...
Can I just interrupt there? Because IQ tests are well known for actually only being a test of our intelligence if we are used to that form of testing. You cannot take someone who's living in an environment that is not used to that form of test, give them the test and expect them to perform in a way that a Westerner who's used to seeing that format would.
Can I also say, research has shown that psychometric testing and IQ tests have been known to improve by practice. So therefore, you cannot be relied on as an absolute form of intelligence.
But the thing is, just getting back to what you say about a culture, people from different cultures, how can you then explain that people from the Indian subcontinent, certain parts of Asia, actually do better than white people?
No one is claiming that.
Well, it's true. They are. The average IQ of people from East Asia is about 107 compared to the average white IQ of 100.
Is that possibly because they have exposure to their historical colonial exposure to these types of education?
Maybe they have worked a lot harder knowing that they were in a new country because, as I said, they have jumped, as I said, they have jumped a number of social classes, which includes the black people as well. I'm not just talking about the Indian subcontinent. They have jumped a number of social classes within 1 or 2 generations, and that is a higher than achievement than the general middle white classes, because of the fact that you are also already comfortable in your environment, and there is a tendency to be very much influenced by peer group pressure. So therefore, it has been shown, and this has been shown by research, that when you grow up in a certain environment, you tend to stay within that environment because of peer group pressure and other environmental factors.
But look there...
Unless there's something to make you go further.
I think you've misunderstood. I'm not talking about East Asian people in Britain. I'm talking about them in their own land. It doesn't matter where you live. A person is a product of their ancestry, and each and every one of us is every previous generation that's lived in our line.
And what is your ancestry?
What my own personal was? Well, I've evolved from the closer related white European tribes of Europe.
How do you know, right? Have you gone right the way back? Because do you realize this country was told to me by my history teacher a long time ago that this was the most conquered country ever, because it was a little island and a lot of different countries and races came and conquered it, and therefore there's a wide sector of mixed racism, in this country.
Well,
and then what's happened is that because the same thing happened, because you see, the Queen actually went down to invite, shall I use your phrase, the Pakistani people in the 1960s. She actually went there to invite us to join the family of nations in England, which we did. Yeah. We integrated, we became a part of your family of nations. The only difference now is the culture difference, which you can see visually, and it's a visual difference because the color difference. So therefore, you are then basing your perception on a color difference, because before the Saxons, the Angles, the Europeans are the same color as you. Absolutely. So there is no visual difference. Yeah. So your perception is based on visual difference.
Well, if you go back to say the period before the last ice age, then our population was very small, and throughout Europe